Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mike Yanek Show, episode 30. Thank you so much for joining me. And today's little milestone of this little cheeky internet show. And thank you for the support and for the surprisingly long view time per episode. The subscribers are not that many and the views are not that many, but the viewing time is quite good. I'm actually very happy. So thank you so much for the few people who are actually sticking by to the end of the show. Hope that you're doing well, and I'm back. As you can see, I got rid of my hair finally. I got a haircut. Thank you to my barber. Thank you, barber. Yeah, baby. And I don't know why I did that. It's like he's still alive. They usually do that when somebody is passed. But anyway, hope that you're doing well. And today we're gonna do something a little bit different because I decided today, because I'm in the process of constantly reinventing the show, and just trying to improve it and learn how to do more stuff and how to have more graphics and how to do different segments and all that stuff. And I'm in a process now, and so today we're gonna do like a little recap. The episode is gonna be 20-30 minutes. It's not gonna be the usual 1 hour show, because I just wanna let you know just what's happening in my life and what's happening with comedy and what's happening with the podcast and how things are going. And I think it's gonna be interesting to do something a bit different. And from next week and whatever, you're gonna have the longer format, and you're gonna have some new bits and pieces. Okay, so what I want to say is we're upon some very exciting times, because yes, baby, it's finally back from the 1st of August. That means, yeah, next week or whatever, in a few days, the comedy clubs are allowed to reopen in this country. That is very exciting, because fucking finally it's been 4 months since I have done comedy, and since all my colleagues have done comedy. And I can imagine that everybody is completely losing their shit, and we are all chomping at the bit just to go on stage, because doing comedy is probably the most addictive thing I've ever done in my life, and it's one of the things that it's just such a thrill. It's unbelievable, and like the whole traveling to the gig and the whole organization. Because for instance, for me, I'm a very organized person, so when I book gigs, I actually put time aside from my schedule every day to book gigs, and to, like, because I don't drive, so I need to literally organize. I need to research where is that gig. I need to have buy the tickets, and I need to know what time I need to leave my house, because I need to catch a bus to town, and what time to catch the train, or like the other bus, whatever it is, right? So it's a lot of preparation, a lot of organization, and it's a trail, because when you go there, you have that thing. Oh fuck! There's things in my room again that are distracting me. Hold on. Ah shit! Not again. I forgot to clean up. God damn it. Okay. Sorry. Look, I'm wearing shorts. Look at that. So I'm dressed, party at the top. No, how is it? Business at the top, party at the bottom. Woohoo! The weather is kind of weird, and I wanted to wear this jacket. I haven't actually worn this jacket, and I have it for, I don't know, 1 year or 2 years now, and I haven't had the chance, because we live in the UK and the weather is a little bit sketchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, what was it yesterday? It's like, what was it, end of July, and it was fucking 15 degrees. I got the heater on and everything. Okay, so weather is a bit funky about around here. So anyway, so the thing with comedy is like, you get this sense of, so when you arrive at the gig, no, the first thing is like, you get this constant anxiety, like non-stop anxiety. You know what I'm saying? It's like 24/7 if you're a comedian, and the anxiety is about literally everything. You know what I mean? It's about not getting a gig, not getting booked because somebody was faster than you, going to the forums, you know what I mean? And they have, they post all the adverts there, so you get an anxiety if you're like, you applied, oh my god, are they going to reply back? And oh my god, somebody got that gig. And then the anxiety from, other people getting an opportunity, or other people doing better than you know what I mean? But, but that is human nature, I think. Like, everybody goes through that, doesn't matter what type of profession you are. So, and sometimes you're thinking, I should get that opportunity. but it is what it is. But you have to wish other people well and hope they do well, and you have to know that your time will eventually come, and you need to put the time in. And sometimes, like, if you see a comedian who's been doing comedy for, like, I don't know, 5 6 years, you cannot expect, you know what I mean, for you to get the same opportunity as if you've done comedy for, like, I don't know, 1 2 years or whatever. So it's, and then you're going to have the whole thing of actually going there. Before you get on stage, you're gonna have this anxiety. At least I have. I'm always super nervous before I get on stage. The nerves disappear the moment I step on stage. I don't know why. It's just it becomes like super, like, comfortable for me to be on stage and natural. But before that, oh my god, I am an absolute mess. You know what I mean? I'm like, my stomach hurts. I feel sweaty, especially if you're the last act or, like, towards the end. It's a nightmare because you have to, you know what I mean? You have to stay there for like 2 hours or whatever until your time comes, and it's even worse. And the thing about me is I have this fear that I might be hungry on stage and I might pass out, because my comedy is very, you know what I mean, it's very out there and it's very energetic, and I scream and you know what I mean, and I'm going all over the place. And my biggest fear is that if I don't have my sandwiches, if I don't have my banana, if I don't have my nuts before I go on stage, I'll faint, fall over or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I always carry my little trusty bag, and I always have a lot of food and all that type of stuff. The people, who know me in the comedy circuit, they always make fun of me, and I love it because I'm getting a little reputation of the little guy who always carries food, and I always do sandwiches and all that type of stuff. And I, give treats and sweets to the other comedians as well, because they're good boys and good girls, and we gotta support each other. So it's like, and then when you go on stage, the whole thing, like, for me, right, if you're like a more experienced comedian, maybe it's different for you, but I'm telling you from my perspective, and especially if you're like, if you're not a stand-up comedian, I think that's quite interesting to hear, people who are outside of the industry, and just figure out how comedians kind of see things. But for me, this is for me. I don't know about other people, but, like, the whole time that you're on stage, the beginning is super important. You know what I mean? If you don't start correctly, you will have a very difficult time. If you don't catch them in the first 30, 40, 50 seconds, then it's gonna be difficult. Even if you're really funny, you can still win them over if you have a bit of time, but it's difficult, especially if you have like 5 or 10 minutes. You don't really have that time. And so, if you start off well, the thing is, like, I constantly have this little thought in the back of my head, like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Oh my god, oh my. It's like walking a tightrope over a fucking Grand Canyon or something, you know what I mean? Like, just one or two wrong moves and you fall down. And it's the same with comedy. Like, just because you've got them, you need to know how to keep them there for 5, 10, 15, an hour, whatever it is, right? And it's not easy, you know what I mean? Like, the human attention span is very short, and is getting shorter as, the years go by, and we have more technology and all that stuff. So it's not easy, you know what I mean? It's not it's not an easy job. I'll drink water later. So if I start off well, I'm constantly thinking, don't fuck this up, don't, you know what I mean? Like, don't make a move. So it's constant. It's you're constantly under pressure. You know what I mean? It's not like they will not give you their laughter just for whatever. You know what I mean? So you need to sustain it. So the whole 10 minutes you're constantly thinking, and I have a panic that sometime I might forget a bit that is coming. You know what I mean? So you need to know how to balance everything. And now I'm more structured. I don't want to do improv and stuff. Sometimes I improvise, it depends on the gig, but if it's like a comedy club or like a very important gig, I try to stick to the script. And because everything is very timed out in my act, so I kind of know that if I forget a bit, and if I remove it, that means I'll have 2 minutes at the end where I don't have nothing. I can improvise, but I'm not gonna have the big pop and the big bang, you know what I mean? And I always finish off my gigs, just, thank you guys, you joined us to the show. I always scream and jump up and down. Everybody's like, they're going crazy if the gig has gone well, because I'm a very physical and, like, robust comedian on stage. And so it's like a constant worrying, you know what I mean? And this is if it's going good. If it's not going good, then, oh my god, I did a few gigs right before the lockdown, so like end of March, And it was at that time where the coronavirus was out, but the government hasn't officially closed everything. So people, they were going to comedy gigs, but there was like this tension in the air. You know what I mean? Especially if somebody like sneezes or coughs, and the people who are literally right next to them, they're like literally shoulder to shoulder. They're like, they're moving around and everybody's quiet, and it was just tension. And I bombed a few times in the span of, I don't know, I think in the span of 5 or 6 gigs, I bombed twice. You know what I mean? So even though February went very well, and I didn't do well. So when you don't do well, it's bizarre. So when you go. Sometimes you kind of feel straight away. You kind of know. I kind of knew. Like the first act did okay before me, and then I went on stage, and you kind of know. Like my first 1 minute is usually strong, and when I don't get anything, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna die on my ass. And I was booked to do 15 minutes, and that was like the first time I did 15 minutes at that venue. You know what I mean? The most I've done is 22 minutes, but like, yeah, booked for 21 minutes, and I did 22 or 20 or something like that. So, and it's just like one of those feelings like, oh god, this is gonna be excruciating. You know what I mean? And I try to keep up the enthusiasm and the performance, and I'm like, I'm gonna give you everything I have, but they don't give you anything. You know what I'm saying? So it just feels shit. I'll be honest. It feels like shit. But the thing is, yeah, you kind of need to, like, the issue is when you put that on yourself. You know what I mean? Maybe the audience were not in the mood. Maybe they didn't feel like it. Maybe your senses of humor didn't match, or maybe you never know what it is. You know what I mean? So, but and if you've done a set a bunch of times and it always works, then it's just one of those nights. You know what I mean? So don't take it too personally and go and try to hurt yourself, or I don't know, drink yourself, like really drink that night, or take drugs, or just being abusive to yourself, and you're thinking like, I'm shit, I'm not worth it. You know what I mean? That type of shit. You're not helping nobody. You know what I mean? You're not gonna help yourself, and in the future you're not going to be able to perform better because of it, and that will hurt the audience. You know what I mean? And that will hurt your potential career and all that type of stuff. So you just gotta be right one of those nights off, and be just like, hey, it is what it is. Maybe it wasn't my night, or maybe they didn't felt like it, and that's it. And you have to reassure yourself, I'm a good comedian, I know what I do, but it's just one of those nights. But now if you bomb from the last 15 gigs, if you bombed 12 times without set, well, then it's you. You know what I mean? Then the set is shit. But if every 10 gigs you bomb once with that set, then it's damn. It's just one of those things. You know what I mean? Don't be too hard on yourself. So, but yeah, so the comedy is coming back, and I kind of miss this whole feeling, to be honest with you, of like excitement and nervousness and paranoia, and especially when you see somebody, like when you see a great opportunity, for instance, and it's failed because you were a bit late. You know what I mean? That's like, to me, that is the worst. You know what I mean? And when you know that you will do super well, and then when you hear that, oh, there was a producer there, or there's like a promoter, or there was these people there, very important people, and they saw the acts, and the only reason you didn't get is because you were just too late. It just happens. You know what I mean? You cannot always be on top. I try to check the forums quite often on Facebook, but sometimes you miss an opportunity literally because half an hour later or whatever you applied, doesn't matter, and it fucking stinks. You know what I mean? I get this like ball here, and it just feels fucking shit. But on the other hand, you get like, if you do well, you like, the audience laughs, and then the other comedians, you create this bond with them, and they're like, yeah, you were good, you did so well, blah 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 blah. You exchange information. Some of the comedians book gigs, or they're promoters or whatever. They're like, do you want to do my gig? And some other people, say, oh, you did well, I'll get you in contact with these people, or do you want to come back to my club or my venue to perform again? You did well. Because the thing with comedy is, like, this is one of those occupations where it's done by very few people, even though I don't know how many comedians are in the comedy circuit in the UK. Maybe, I don't know, I'm saying maybe 2,000, 3,000 people, and I'm including everybody from open mic people who do it maybe 4 times a month, to fucking people who are doing arenas and are on telly every night or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not going to be more than, I don't know, maybe 5,000 max, you know what I mean? But when you think like the UK is about technically 65 million people, but I always say 70 because I'm sure there's some, I don't know, maybe not everybody is counted. Some people probably undocumented, some people going in and out of the country, double citizenship, whatever. So I just say seven, and you have tourists all the time, whatever. So 70 million people, right? And 5,000 is fucking nothing. Think about any other profession, and if you like, how many, I don't know, how many baristas you think there are in the UK? You know what I mean? It's gonna be definitely more than 5,000. How many nurses you have? How many? You know what I mean? Like all these other professions, they have way more people. So even though it might seem a lot, especially if you're a stand-up comedian, you've been thinking like, oh my god, there's so many people, so many acts. I cannot. You know what I mean? There's only a few spots and so much competition, but it really is not that much. And also, if you're good, you will always go to the top eventually. You know what I mean? Like, I think the comedy circuit and the audience kind of clear itself out. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like those, I don't know, when, like dead skin. Oh, that's a weird example. Like dandruff or whatever with. I don't have an example, but you know what I mean? It kind of cleans itself out eventually because not everybody's serious, and some people do it just for fun, other people just not that good, and a lot of people quit by themselves eventually. So, you know what I mean? If you have any talent and if you think that you can offer something, you will eventually get an opportunity, and that's why I don't. When I was starting out, I'll be honest with you, the first few months, because I didn't know how the industry worked and I didn't know anything about this thing that I was doing, I was feeling a lot of anxiety and all that type of stuff. Will I ever get booked? And oh my god, what if nobody laughs? And what if this promoter doesn't like me? And because I'm very loud and crazy, and I say I'm very very like a bit out of the box, because like even though I feel half British, half Bulgarian by this point, but I do curse a lot and I do say outlandish shit, and I'm very like like I have this. I resemble more like the American comedians back in the 90s. You know what I mean? They, especially like, I don't know, like Eddie Griffin and Cat Williams, and you know what I mean? All those like crazy. I grew up with black comedians and I love black comedians, but they always had that raw vibe and energy and like swagger and confidence and like, motherfucker, just screaming of like crazy, you know what I mean? But British society is not like that. British society is a bit more reserved and a bit more calm, and you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, let's, let's. That type of stuff, you know what I mean? So sometimes I'm afraid that maybe I'll be perceived in the wrong way, or maybe bookers wouldn't like me, that type of stuff. But now I'm kind of realizing that, hey, like I'm getting better at this. I'm writing new material. I have some really good bits now that I'm very happy with. So eventually, you'll get the opportunity and people will see, that type of stuff. You just need to put the time in and be consistent, like anything you do. Same with the podcast as well, because like I don't get that many subscribers and viewers now, but I'm working slowly towards building it and making it a bit better and better and better. And it takes time. I'm not in a hurry. And the original idea was for me to do the comedy, interact with people, and the podcast just to be like a place where I can provide a bit of free content for them and a bit of comedy and jokes and whatever until the next time they see me. But I started the podcast and the corona hit literally, I don't know, month and a half later or whatever. So I did like a few episodes, and I don't know, by episode I think 10 or 8 or whatever, we were already in the lockdown. Yeah, episode 12. By episode 12, I think we were in the lockdown already. So it's like, what the fuck, man? So it didn't work out. And doing a solo podcast is quite difficult if you don't have the following, because usually you have only two type of podcasts. I mean, for comedians, like either you have a big following already, and then you start to do a podcast by yourself, which your following will follow you there and you can grow, or you have the interview style, which I'm not that interested in, like, because when you do a interview podcast, you're dependent on other people. And I actually know a few mates that couldn't start their podcast or needed to stop their podcast because of the quarantine and they cannot get guests, and you're dependent on other people. But that being said, I'm gonna have guests in the future. Just stick by until the end of the podcast and end of this episode, and I'll let you know. Okay. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited, and now they opening back the clubs, and eventually, I think at the beginning, because the clubs took a big loss. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. So there was a campaign. The government offered 1.5 billion pounds to the arts, but the comedy was not included in it. But because there was a campaign, there was a hashtag, there was a letter. I signed the letter, but I didn't do the hashtag on my public profiles because, like I said, I don't get my public persona. Even though I don't have that much following, I think I need to be very principled in the way I behave, in my per public persona. Sorry, I'm fucking idiot. And I'm recording this early in the morning because I've been kind of busy and kind of took a few days off. I'll be honest with you. Fucking, I took so many days off and I didn't have internet or anything, so I haven't been recording anything, and I'm a bit, behind on the schedule. So that's why. And I'm recording this very, very early in the morning. And so yeah, they did the hashtag, and yeah, like I said, I don't do hashtags and I don't do any political or any sorts of campaigns, because once you do one, then the more your publicity grows, the more people will start to involve you in their campaigns. And I don't want to do that, because if I tweeted or supported one group, like for instance this thing, which was affecting me directly, the comedians or whatever, and then when something else happened, they're gonna be like, "Hey, hold on, so you like these people, but you don't support these people, Mike Yanek? How can you be against us or whatever the fuck?" And then you have to do that hashtag, and you have to be out and yeah, support this campaign or whatever. And then something else comes out, and something else, and by the end, as you see, like all these celebrities in Hollywood, especially the comedians, they're not comedians anymore because they're like so deep in this shit. You know what I mean? That they don't do their comedy anymore, or they don't have time now. They always have to pay lip service to whatever the fuck cause they have for. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a social worker, and I don't want to be, how do you call it, like a fundraiser and philanthropist or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, no, I want to do comedy. That's what I want to make stupid jokes and silly videos, but most importantly, I want to do live comedy. That is the best shit ever. Live comedy. Podcast is okay, it's fun. Doing YouTube comedy videos, for me, it's not something I'm interested. I'll probably do a few just to try it out and just maybe to grow a bit of following. But doing live comedy is the only thing I'm interested in, and I don't want to be an activist. I can't, like, in my personal life we can talk about every topic. I'm actually quite open-minded and liberal, and probably 95% of topics when it comes to politics and that type of stuff. But in my public persona, I don't wanna. I make a lot of jokes here, left wing jokes, and a lot of right wing jokes, or whatever the fucking centrist jokes, if that even a thing on the podcast. And when I do videos and all that type of stuff, but I don't officially support any cause. So they did that. I only signed the letter, but I didn't post everywhere. I signed the letter, this. But I'm happy for the people who did it, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the funding now, even though I don't even know how much the funding is, where it's going to go, how it's going to work. But at least stand-up comedy is recognized now as a part of the arts, I think officially in the UK, which bravo to everybody who was involved in the campaign. So they will get the funding. Hopefully the clubs will not close. And now, because the clubs haven't had any income for about 3-4 months, they will mostly have professional comedians doing their nights, because they need to bring in the people, because these are the acts with the big names and the big followings, and you're gonna have people in and buying drinks, and the clubs will start to make money again, which is completely fair, and this is how it should be. So for me, because I saw a lot of spots and all that type of stuff coming up, but they were mostly paid and professional and all that type of stuff, and I'm still not there, unfortunately. I think I'll be there in a few years. If everything goes back to normal, I think maybe in 2 or 3 years I'll get into more regular paid work. I hope so. And so yeah, I don't think I'm going to be out. I pretty much 2020 for me is like, okay, even if I don't get a spot in 2020, it's been a fucking weird year, isn't it? It's like almost, yeah, well, it's August, so August, December, hold on, August, September, October, November, December, so 5 months left, so even if I start getting a few spots here and there, I'll be happy. So, but it's okay. But 2020, we're going back at it. Hopefully, everything will be fine. 2021, sorry. And I've been writing a lot of comedy. I've been writing, have a bunch of new bits, and I have, that I'm very happy with, and I'm still learning the bits because my process of like learning material and performing is a bit different. I don't write on stage, which means improvise on stage and then put it into your act. I do maybe one or two lines here and there, but I don't do the whole act. I actually memorize. It's like a bit like a play, like I memorize the act, I go on stage and I perform it. If somebody interrupts me or there's like a place where I can improvise, I will improvise here and there. Or I just go on stage and I just improvise. I've had sets where I've done like a minute of material and then 9 minutes of improv. So if I'm improvising, I'm improvising. If I'm doing material, I'm doing material. But it's very like, rehearsed. That is the word. Like I like rehearsed. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, and because I do a lot of physical comedy, and you can see that this thing I've done it many times. So I perform, in my house. I learn how to do it. I learn the moves, the faces, the timing, and all that type of stuff. And like for instance, now I have 10 minutes of new material that I've never done. Like I've never done it. I've done the first bit, which is 2 minutes. I've done it only 2 times on stage before that, right? So when I get booked now for my first gig coming back, I'm going and I'm doing 10 minutes brand new. I've never done before. Most people will go and do material that they've done before, but this is just how I am because I just want to try this material, and I'm confident on stage. I'm very secure, so I don't mind. I'm not scared. And it's very interesting when you do material that you've never done before. It's so much fun because you want to see the reaction and you feel nervous. And and if you're like, oh my god, what if I get something wrong and all that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's good times. Okay. I'm going to be finishing in a few minutes because, like I said, I didn't manage to record the podcast, so I need to get this out as soon as possible. And I'm in the process of learning a lot of stuff, so I need some time to do, edits and all that type of stuff. Not on this episode. This episode, I'm just putting it out there with no minimal edits. You're gonna get the raw version. But yeah, it's pretty much like I wanted to do something a bit different, like a little summary. And the end of the show, at the end of the day, it's my show, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. Okay, so hold on. Yeah, getting back right to comedy. Yeah, so I've been spending some times with my lovely girlfriend recently, and she had a new flat, and I'll spare you the details because it is a fucking shit show over there. What's happening? I'm not gonna go into too much details because she might get mad at me, but she doesn't have internet there, and it's so interesting because I spent a bunch of days, but like 7 days or something in total there. That's why I've been kind of like a vacation because I needed it. I take time off very rarely, but what I'm trying to say is like it's so interesting when you go with no like zero internet, and when I come back home, I spend there 4 days with no internet, and when I come back home, I don't have even internet on my phone now because I run out of data. And when you turn on like Twitter or the news or whatever, and it's like this complete, oh my god, World War III and this and that and the corona, and it's so good sometimes just to turn it off, you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is like if you can go without the internet for some time or a few days, I think you'll be good for your mental health, and anxieties and all that type of stuff. But hey, I cannot do that now because comedy is coming back, so I need to be on the lookout for gigs and spots and all that type of stuff. I just want to tell you about the future of this podcast, where things are going. No, now I'm going to be having guests in the near future, maybe in a few months, because even though Corona is out, I mean, maybe there's going to be a second wave. Let's see what happens, and so I need to wait until everything is safe so I can bring people into my house. But there is like a little space behind me. I don't know if you can see it, where I have 2 chairs. So I'll remove the table, put 2 chairs, and I will buy like a little table, and I'll buy a second microphone like this, and just have, put the computer somewhere, or maybe like a little laptop, and just have a conversation. Now, I will have maybe every 10 episodes, one guest or something. We will see. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see. I do know a lot of interesting people, especially now I've been doing comedy, and I've been very fortunate to become friends with some very, very interesting people, artistic, funny comedians, and all that type of stuff. It's not going to be like a traditional interview. There might be like a few 5-10 minutes at the beginning, just a little back and forth. If you don't know who they are, because like they are they're super famous in the comedy circuit, but they haven't like they're not like on telly, you know what I mean? So if it's like a random person, or if you're like, because we do have some viewers now, I do get a lot of friend requests from Canada, by the way. Like literally every day, people from Canada contact me on Facebook, and they like the page and they like the podcast. So uh, the only word I know in Canadian is out and about, out. I'm joking, but yeah, I love Canada, so I've never been there. Hopefully, one day I'll visit. And so, if you're from Canada, thank you. And I have a lot of people from like Michigan and like Chicago, Illinois, that part of America. A lot of Americans as well. Thank you, America. Goddamn, I do talk about America a lot on this podcast, usually in a very comedic way. I usually make fun of the Americans, but I love you and stay strong over there, because I don't know what the fuck's happening in your country. But I hope there's gonna be peace soon. Okay, please don't kill each other over there, America. Please, come on. Can we all just get along? And so yeah, we have some international viewers as well, which makes me very happy. And we have a few people from Scotland, and mostly people from England. And so yeah, so I know some interesting people. But if you're like a casual fan of comedy in Canada, you probably will not know the people that I will have on. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be like a little introduction, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we're gonna play games. I have the segments. Like I can do like Florida news. I can read out some articles, and we get to comment. I will do maybe some reviews of clips, or like Yelp reviews, and I'll ask them, would you rather, the game, just like different I'll definitely take fan questions. So I'll try to definitely do on Instagram, so you can follow me on Instagram at Mike Yanek. I will try to do in my stories fan questions for my guests, maybe 3 days before they arrive, or 3 days before we record. I'll post everyone on my social media. If you have any questions for this person, please submit them, and we're gonna have a little like a little segment where the person is going to answer the questions. It's gonna be long, up to hour and a half. I'll try to keep it up to an hour and a half, so we can jam pack as much stuff as possible there, and it's gonna be fun. You know what I mean? But I still want to do the solo podcast, because it's on my watch. I can do it whenever I want, and I can schedule things. And when everything goes back, I think maybe if we don't have a second wave, if we don't have a second lockdown, right? I think in about 2 months, comedy will get back to normal after they open, right? So maybe August, September, by October, maybe mid-October, I think we'll be back like normal, right? So I usually gig a lot. I usually do around 10 to 15 gigs a month. If you live in America and New York City, they do literally 10 spots a night. You know what I mean? That's nothing. But in England, it's different. Especially in the north of England, there's limited opportunities and limited gigs and spaces, right? So when everything goes back to normal, I will be very, very busy. So that's why I like to do the solo podcast, and I'm still learning how to do it. And, I've spiced up the podcast a lot now. It's very different than what it was. If you go to episode, 5, for instance, hold on, is very different than what it is now. Okay. Also, I need to buy. So I have a few mates that are at my level in the comedy game. Right. They are open micers, but they're getting into paid work, and they're very funny. Very funny, right? I can get them because they can do me a favor, because they're me mates. They'll come and do it straight away. I know some professional comedians that are very, very solid people in the industry, and they're very good, and I am with very good terms with them. I know like a owner of a comedy club, a booker of a comedy club. I know a bunch of professional comedians, and we're at very good terms. I gigged for them a few times, and we know each other, and they're super sweet people. But if you want them, gotta do some fucking numbers on this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, everybody's super busy. If you're a professional comedian and this is the only job you have, this is the only source of income, these people, they are super busy, right? So they don't have time to slack off and just to chill or whatever, right? So because I don't pay anybody who's gonna come here. The only way that they can do it is if this podcast has some numbers and it's gonna be good exposure for them. Otherwise, maybe they'll do it because of favor of me, because they like me or whatever. But I don't wanna 27 subscribers, nobody's gonna fucking come, let's be honest, okay? So we gotta do some fucking numbers. So we gotta spread the word and get some fucking, I don't know, Russian bots or whatever to subscribe, but we gotta have some subscription and we have to have some numbers. So I'm thinking maybe in 1 or 2 years, and when my name is grown in the industry as well, then I will get you some solid professional. Like, I know people who've been doing comedy, I don't know, for 10 years, 15 years or whatever, and they've been professional comedians for 7, 8, 10 years or whatever, and they have huge followings, you know what I mean? So, but we need to get it proper, and it's going to be very interesting for you, the hardcore original fans of the show, just to hear how a professional comedian, the day in the life of a professional comedian, how he got started, and I'll ask some interesting questions, and also we will play some games, so it's gonna be fun, okay? But you gotta subscribe, you gotta like and share with your grandma or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I'll get you my mates as well, and they're great, they're absolutely phenomenal people, they're very funny, and we're gonna play games and that type of stuff. But they haven't been on telly, and you know what I mean, like if you want that spicy type of stuff. But they're great, and but I'm sure they will be one day in a few years. They're very, very talented people, and I love them so much. And that's about it. And I'm planning to buy a new camera maybe in a few months. I need to do some research more, because this camera, it's not bad, but I'm gonna use this camera for recording my actual gigs. And I want to zhuzh it up the studio a bit more. I'm gonna put something here. Gonna put a bunch of frames and pictures on the far right, on the far right. That didn't sound well. On the back wall, on the far back wall. That's what I'm trying to say. And I want to spice up the place so it can be a bit more visually pleasing. And I'm gonna do a little improvised studio over there for guests and that type of stuff. And maybe from time to time I'll get some of my comedian mates to be like co-hosts of the episodes. But I really want to grow this, you know what I mean? And as you can see, I'm slowly, every episode there's a little more details added to the background, and there's like a different transition or this or that. I'm just learning some stuff how to do it. I'm gonna do that in the next few days. I'm gonna learn how to do that type of stuff, and pretty much that's it. And when I go back, I'm gonna start recording my actual sets, and I want to put some little videos for you so I can put out content as much as possible, not only the podcast. And I'm still learning, how to edit, how to do all that stuff. But that's it, and hopefully we're going to go back to normal in a few weeks, and I can start making some solid content for you good people. And that's it. And it's 35 minutes, and I'm happy because I want it to be short episode. We'll see how it goes in the future, because if I'm very busy, you might get shorter episodes. So that's about it. Boys and girls, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Bye.